The upcoming 5.2 patch will be coming in early December, and I have covered some of the changes in my last video. I have given it some thoughts, and I want to sort of throw a few ideas out there that may potentially achieve what DICE has set out to do. So DICE decided to change up the system because of the more campy tanking experience in Battlefield 5. It is something of concern since the launch of the game, and there really hasn't been anything done to mitigate that situation. The underlying problem is the vulnerability of the tanks, especially heavier tanks, to attacking an objective, so people end up adapting to a completely different playstyle, which is to camp from really far away, like up in the hills of Aerodrome or in the spawn of Ares Breakthrough. They simply spam all their shells from hundreds of meters away from the objective area, and then go to the resupply points, or they simply camp at the resupply point to begin with, and then spam shells across the map. This is a problem. It is a problem for both teams, especially true on Breakthrough. The attacking team is often angry at their own tanker because they feel like the tank is not helping them push the objective, so everyone just ends up camping in spawn. The defending team is also angry because they feel as if the enemy tank doesn't care about winning the game and only about the KD. Or I'd say that reason probably applies to both teams. They also have a very difficult time killing the tanks because they are sitting way behind the out-of-bound area, and you simply can't reach them. And as a tanker myself, I find that very annoying to deal with, and this should simply not be allowed. This problem is magnified especially because of the map design, as well as the asymmetric tank spawn system where one team has multiple tanks in one sector, and the other team has none. There simply aren't any ways to kill the tanks if they stay far away. So I do want to propose a few changes that may encourage the tanks to start playing the objective, and ways that make them want to do it, rather than simply forcing them to play in a way they don't want to play. I believe in improving quality of life for the tanker, but at the same time, I want the infantry players to have the ability to counter them when they play smart, and not simply get angry at the enemy tanker for abusing the system. Before I get started, just a quick note is that my proposal is just something I imagined, and it can potentially change things for the better, but it doesn't mean that DICE is going to incorporate it, nor would it work out 100% like I want it to. I also want you all to throw in some ideas in the comment section below about my proposals or your own proposal to find ways that will make tanker actually want to play the objective, but at the same time not make them completely overpowered. I got quite a few ideas, and they will kind of have to work together synergistically to create the desired effect. So the first one would be a change in the point system. Just like how they are going to be adding points to shooting down flares to incentivize that action, I think points can encourage players to play the objective. My proposal would be to add additional points acquired per kill the closer you are to the objective, perhaps starting from 50 to 75 meters away from the edge of the objective area. That would be in addition to the attacking and defending bonus. But at the same time, if they are further than 100 meters or so, they will have points actually deducted. So if they are just sitting in spawn firing long-range shells, they are not going to be getting as many points as they would like. People who care about their stats will not necessarily want to see their score per minute go down the drain, so that will incentivize them to start pushing closer to the objective. The next thing would be the coaxial machine gun changes. With the Pacific Theater update, the machine guns on the tanks have seen a massive overhaul to the worse. Much worse actually. DICE claim that it is now easier to use them. I say that cannot be further away from the truth. What I would suggest is that the coaxial guns see an increase in spread, making them more inaccurate at longer distances. The damage drop-off can also be adjusted to make them take way more bullets to kill at far distances, which would put them in line with the upcoming time to kill changes. But at closer distances, it should take a lot less bullets to kill, and the increase in spread would not affect it significantly. This way, it will give tankers a very good reason to be close. So just a quick preliminary idea would be something like this. Here I have a graph that shows the current damage model of the Type 97 Chiha coaxial machine gun in orange. It deals 25 damage up to 12 meters and then dropped down to 12.5 damage at 75 meters. That translates to 4 bullets to kill up to 12 meters and then 8 bullets to kill past 75 meters. Then the blue line is what I would suggest, dealing 34 damage up to 20 meters and then down to 10 damage past 90 meters. That would translate to 3 bullets to kill, which is 1 less bullet, but up to 20 meters, and then taking 10 bullets to kill past 90 meters. That would mean that it would take way more bullets to kill at longer distances, and if you pair that with an increase in spread, it would render the coaxial machine gun much weaker at longer distances. But you'll be able to gain a significant presence around the objective, making it a feared asset for your team if used correctly. Then the next thing would be to increase the acceleration of tanks by around 20 to 25%, especially for heavy tanks. The top speed can stay the same, but a slight improvement for acceleration allows these tanks to be in more control of their surroundings and be able to react to closer range engagements. The fourth thing would be the ability for the support player to repair broken parts of the tank as long as the tank is not actively receiving damage. I do think the support player will have to be on the side of the broken part for them to repair the part, so they cannot be hiding in the rear of the tank and expect to repair everything. The support player should also be able to gain more points by repairing tanks, meaning that they are not really losing out on the action by doing so. The recent addition of the blinking icons on tanks is a great addition, but even at this point, you don't see a whole lot of support players repairing friendly tanks. I would go as far as doubling the points you get for repairing. The fifth suggestion would be to introduce a vehicle resupply reinforcement call-in by the squad leader. I'm not sure if it is possible for DICE to implement a system where the tanker can request a resupply drop and the squad leader can simply approve it. If that's allowed, then even better. Either way, I think a vehicle resupply drop that resupply the tank can allow them to stay in the fight longer. They can also have finite amount of shells it can resupply with a lockout period of around, let's say, 5 minutes or so, or even longer. This would extend the ability of tanks to stay in the front lines, but not completely eliminate the need to go back to an actual resupply point. Speaking of resupply points, let's get to the next point. I think vehicle resupply points should not be destructible like the ones for planes. It is very frustrating for tankers to go to the resupply point just to find out that they are destroyed, and the question becomes whether to exit the vehicle and build it or not. There are many cases where friendly players actually troll their own team by blowing it up, stealing the tank of their teammate when they come out to build the resupply station. Some may argue that the ability to destroy this resupply point is a strategy for the enemy to deny actively resupplying in the middle of the fight. But I'd argue that tanks shouldn't be able to resupply while taking damage anyway, and if the tank is actively holding the objective, it should have a slight advantage anyway. Another thing I want to see would be to decrease the time to enter and exit vehicles. This would allow tankers to exit the vehicles more safely with less risk of getting shot while outside the tank. This will allow for more interesting play like how it is in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, where the tankers can escape past a corner, get out, repair even just a little bit, and then get back into the tank for that slight advantage. This will raise the skill ceiling for using the maps to their advantage, and also allow tankers to stay in the front lines longer rather than retreating all the way back all the time. The main issue of tanks not wanting to push into objective has nothing to do with tank versus tank combat. And because of that, I don't think it is necessary to change beyond what DICE has already set out to do regarding tank angles and so on. Tank-to-tank combat is actually not bad in my opinion, and really does not happen as often as tank versus infantry combat. And the latter is really what's the underlying issue. Tankers feel like they don't stand a chance in an objective against 1 or 2 assault players, so they don't even try to go in. Even for me, who may be a little bit more experienced with tanking, I often hesitate to push in as well unless I know I'm backed up by lots of infantry supports. So I would suggest that the PIAT should be focused on damaging infantry and transport vehicles with higher blast damage and lower impact damage with an overall inferior damage to the Panzerfaust. Whereas for the Panzerfaust, it would be a dedicated tool to kill tanks. I think one assault player should have the ability to kill even a Tiger tank if everything is done right. For example, I don't think even 2 assault players should be able to kill a Tiger tank head-on without landing on a Panzerfaust shot at perfect angles, which are the ones being introduced by DICE in the upcoming patch. But I do think that if they are able to sneak up to the back of the Tiger between throwing dynamites or AT mines and shooting Panzerfaust at the rear at decent angles, one assault player should be able to kill it. In that sense, the Panzerfaust will need to have a higher impact damage, making it formidable against high multiplier parts like the rear dealing a ton of damage, but if they just shoot randomly, fire at a bad angle in the front of a tank, then they should not be rewarded. Also, do not forget the arrival of the Boom Broom, so assault players will get even more tools to kill tanks. So that would be the reason why I suggest all these changes that will empower tankers to play the objective with less incentive to stay far away, but at the same time, give infantry a fighting chance against tanks when they become careless. But even with all these changes, without good map design, it may be difficult to change the way some people play. For example, Aerodrome. I think the outbound areas on the side of the map up the hill should be closed off as soon as the next objective is in play. They can also block the sight lines by having more rocks or other obstacles so that they will prevent them from farming kills hundreds of meters away. Anyway, those are just some ideas that came to mind. Let me know down in the comment section what you think. Would you be on board with some of these changes, or would you suggest some of your own? Let me know. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, if not, a thumbs down. Feel free to follow me on Twitter and join my Discord channel, links are down below. I would also appreciate it immensely if you decide to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notification. Otherwise, have a fantastic day, and I will see you again soon.